Hello, it's Annette here. You're very welcome. Have you ever asked yourself what you actually believe about yourself? Not what you say on the surface, but deep down, what you really feel about who you are. One day in my 40s, I sat down and I forced myself to write this out. And what came out was not good. This is what I wrote about myself. You are not enough. You are responsible for others. Don't trust your feeling or your instincts. You are bad. You are wrong. You are alone. Nobody loves you. And lastly, you must be perfect and nobody will love you. When I looked at these things I wrote down, I realized something important. They were not just random thoughts that I come up with. They were messages I had subconsciously learned growing up. And I had been subconsciously repeating them to myself all through my adult life without even knowing I was doing this. I call these the 6 bad messages because they are subconscious bad beliefs we feed to ourselves without even knowing we are doing it. So how do we learn them? As children, we depend completely on our carers. We cannot afford to believe that something is wrong with them or with our environment, because if we did, our whole world would feel unsafe and that would be overwhelming for a child. So instead, we do something subconscious that is both automatic and very powerful. We turn the blame inwards. We blame ourselves for any problems in our environment. If something feels wrong, we assume it must be our fault. If something is wrong in our environment, we think we are the problem and we are to blame. So we end up saying things to ourselves subconsciously like, I must not be enough. I must be responsible for keeping things okay around here. I must not trust myself. I must be a bad person. I must be unlovable. I must try harder so I can be perfect. Sadly, during our childhoods, these messages we subconsciously tell ourselves become firm core beliefs about who we are. And sadly, these messages don't just stay in our childhood. They subconsciously follow us all the way into our adult lives. And this is something important to remember. Since they operate at a subconscious level, we are not even aware that we are feeding ourselves these bad messages every day, every minute of every day. We just feel the effects of them. They make us have absolutely no self-confidence, so we feel unsure of ourselves. We doubt our decisions. We feel responsible for other people's feelings. We feel like something is wrong with us. It makes sense that if you constantly feed yourself the 6 bad messages, then you are not going to feel strong or secure in yourself. And when you don't feel strong or secure in yourself, it becomes very difficult to stand up for yourself, which means you are much more likely to tolerate poor treatment, and you are much more likely to be drawn into situations where other people can exploit you because you're not able to stand up for yourself. You see, you need self-confidence to be able to stand up for yourself. And these 6 bad messages, they destroy any chance we have of ever having confidence in ourselves. And perhaps one of the saddest parts of all of this is, if you are constantly feeding yourself these 6 bad messages, you never get the chance to like yourself. You never get the chance to value yourself. Life becomes something you get through rather than something you feel comfortable in. But there is an important turning point, and this is where I want to tell you there is lots of hope, because once you understand that this is happening, everything begins to change. You begin to see that the 6 bad messages are not the truth about you. They are learned or were learned when you had to survive in a difficult environment. And because they are learned, they can be unlearned. But the first step is awareness. You have to see that you are doing this. Since feeding yourself the 6 bad messages is a subconscious process, you will not be able to stop doing this until someone makes you aware that you are actually doing this. So, awareness is where the healing starts. Awareness is the first step to healing and breaking free from the control of the 6 bad messages. Once you become aware that you are feeding yourself these 6 bad messages, you can begin to challenge them. And this is where things start to shift and become so much better. Now, I found a very simple way to stop these 6 bad messages controlling what I believed about myself. Excuse me. And I call it the nip and flip method. And it really does work. I've been practicing this nip and flip method for many years now, and I rarely feed myself a bad message. I'm able to stop the 6 bad messages destroying my self-confidence. Now, I haven't gone to the other extreme and become super duper confident. I have a balance. I now replace the 6 bad messages with good messages. You're going to say, but sure, Annette, that's really obvious. And I'm going to say, no, it's not, because we subconsciously feed ourselves the 6 bad messages. So we have to make a conscious choice to feed ourselves good messages. And we do that using the nip and flip method. So once you become aware that you are feeding yourself the 6 bad messages, then you can start to use nip and flip. And over time, with practice, your mind begins to learn good things about yourself, the truth about yourself. And the 6 bad messages, they lose their grip, they lose their control. I want you to know that using nip and flip helps you gain self-confidence, and you start to begin to like yourself, and you might even start to love yourself, and that's healing. And this is where I want to really encourage you. The fact that you are listening to this video, it means you are becoming aware that you may be subconsciously feeding yourself these 6 bad messages. And this means that you are now moving this subconscious process to a conscious process. And now you have the power to stop the 6 bad messages from controlling your life, as we can control what is in our conscious mind. Awareness is the first step to healing and breaking free from the 6 bad messages. Awareness becomes a conscious choice to feed yourself good messages. Welcome to awareness. Welcome to healing. Now, there's one more important point I want to tell you. If you recognize these damaged core beliefs in yourself, the 6 bad messages, the next step is to understand that we also learned toxic patterns in our difficult childhoods. Sadly, these toxic patterns keep repeating in your adult life too, and this is done subconsciously as well. Now, to all of my own work on healing from my difficult childhood, I realised something very important, and I had to work this out slowly over time. We learn the 6 bad messages from a difficult childhood, and we learn toxic patterns from a difficult childhood, and both are learned at a subconscious level. So I look at it like this. The 6 bad messages and toxic patterns, they both keep us stuck in a never-ending cycle of gravitating towards toxic and abusive situations. They don't operate on their own. They feed into each other. Because if you think about it like this, subconsciously learning the 6 bad messages as a child, that means you'll have no self-confidence as an adult. And then if you also subconsciously learn toxic patterns in your childhood, you are likely to repeat those toxic patterns in your adult life. Therefore, both these processes, when you combine them, they both set you up to gravitate towards toxic and abusive situations in your adult life. I call this connection between the two subconscious processes, I call it the hidden loop. And it explains why so many of us who had difficult childhoods find that our childhoods follow us into our adult lives via these two processes. We have no control over this happening as both operate at a subconscious level. But here's the good news. Once you understand how the 6 bad messages and toxic patterns all feed into each other, you are at the first step to healing. Because since both these processes are subconscious, becoming aware of them operating in your life is the first step to stopping them controlling your life. Awareness is the first step to healing, and I hope this video is now giving you this awareness. So finally, if you recognize the 6 bad messages in your life, the next step is to understand how we also learned toxic patterns in our difficult childhoods. I'm going to upload a video shortly where I explain how this happens and how it impacts on our lives. And once this video is uploaded, it will appear in the end screen and in the pinned comment. Thank you for listening, and I hope this helps. And you'll probably realise that that's why I called my channel Your Childhood is Over. No, it's not. Because as I've outlined there, our difficult childhoods subconsciously, sadly, follow us into our adult lives. So just because we're adults and we're grown up doesn't mean our childhoods are over. However, once we become aware of the subconscious processes that are operating in our adult lives that keeps our childhoods still in our adult lives, you can change things. You can make it a conscious choice to stop your childhood from invading your adult life. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Catch you in the next video. Thank you for listening. And again, I hope this helps.